So welcome to today's video where we are joined by a great friend of Precision Golf, Henni Zuel, to talk through your current bag, but a little bit of history from playing days and what you used then to what you're using now.
Yes, unfortunately the swing speed has slowed down drastically, so there is quite a change in what I've been using from an iron shaft point of view, which I'm really nerdy about and can't wait to get into. And then there's also the addition of the 7-wood, which made popular by Tommy Fleetwood to great success. I have got mixed feelings about it.
So let's get in there, take a deep dive into the bag, see where we go from there. So, start off through the bag. You alluded to iron shafts a moment ago, so let's start off with the irons. So we've got, obviously with TaylorMade through the bag, P7CBs. So traditionally, you're playing these, are you always sort of a kind of a traditional blade style player? Did you go for forgiveness? Was there a trend to what you like to have in the bag?
Yes, there was. All powered by my massive ego while I was playing. I only played with blades. So I liked it to look...
Still do?
That no, this is a significant cavity for me. Yes, this is really tough emotionally for me to drop down to. But I realised that a combination of swing speed plus lack of playing meant that I had to give a little bit. But I always just loved beautiful irons as well, aside from the ego side of things. I just loved like a pretty looking golf club. So yes, I was always blades, and because the club that I started with was a cut down 9-iron of my mum's, I really liked the heaviness and the weight in the shafts.
Got it.
And I would get clubs out of the bargain bin and cut those down. So I always just had like really heavy shafts. And so that's what I need, is to be able to feel the weight of the shaft wherever it goes.
That's something that's actually really interesting, is it shows, I mean, I grew up with, so I think dad or granddad's old stuff, cut down persimmon woods, so I'm a bit older than Henni, and bladed irons. And I think sometimes when you learn with those sort of clubs, actually that kind of carries through. I've always liked the feel, the look of the bladed clubs. And the moment I got good enough, I was straight back into blade. Well, probably wasn't good enough, but the moment I could, I went straight back into blades. And I think you get used to that lack of offset, that kind of feel from the contact.
Yes, the offset is such an issue, isn't it? When you start going into cavities, and you hit the ball with a cavity and you go, this is so helpful. Why can't I do this? But then for actual playability as well, I just felt like a blade I could maneuver a little bit more. Because it was thinner, I felt like I could control angle of attack and spin a bit more on demand than I could with a cavity that felt like I would make contact and the flight would be great and it would go further, but it just felt less maneuverable as well.
I think it's the one, I guess, challenge from a tech point of view with iron heads in particular, where you're wanting some margin area, want some forgiveness, but actually it's then reliability of yardage. So the balance up is always less tech. You're never going to get one that jumps, but a miss hit drops off a bit more. With tech, you get less of a drop off, but you could get one that just jumps a little bit more. So it's always a bit of a sliding scale as to, how much is the right amount. So I've added a 4-iron in with a bit of tech, just because I'm not too worried about that going 5 or 6 yards too long, but I wouldn't want it in my short irons. Yeah,
and I think for me over the years, it's come down to how consistently am I hitting it out the middle of the club face, and what swing speed do I have? And those two metrics help me decide what club I'm going into.
How much are you playing now?
Good question. Because it's winter, less than I was in the summer, like most of us, but I am trying to play at least like once or twice a week. But I realistically know in my head that I have to hit balls like 5 to 6 times a week to warrant being able to go into a club with more playability, or even to have any feel, to be honest.
Are you more of a feel player? Technically, have you always been kind of swing technique oriented, or more kind of see a shot, feel a shot, and kind of react to what you see in front of you?
Good question. I'm probably a mixture, in that I know that there's a couple of things that I need to do to connect the dots from a technical point of view to be able to start the ball where I want to and have control of my flight. But at the same time, I have definitely been caught in a trap playing out on tour of playing golf swing and not playing golf ball and golf shot. And so it's that really fine balance of I need these things in this hitting area to be correct in terms of path and club face control. And once those are right, and I know that those are there, then I need to be able to focus on seeing a shot shape and then hitting that and stepping into it and literally just trying to move your body to be able to hit that shot shape. is probably the balance that I have in my mind.
So club setup wise, I mean, head wise, there's a little bit of, you've got a bit of weight at the bottom here in the CBs now, as we've this weekend just gone down at Royal Melbourne. Rory's actually been testing these heads as well, particularly in the longer irons, but there's a little bit of tungsten in the longer irons down the bottom of the head as well, which just drops the centre of gravity down a touch, which is why he hasn't kept them in the short irons yet. So there's more margin for error in these heads than they look, but essentially there's still a single piece forging bar in the long irons, a little bit of tungsten down there. So you still keep a lot of the softness of feel and that sort of solidity of the one piece head, that muscle bar at the middle as well, just helping keep the mass behind the contact point. Whilst it's still a kind of single piece forward solid feel, there is a bit of help there. Is that something you've noticed playing these, particularly versus the kind of blade style head? Or is it more that you've managed to keep the feel that you've enjoyed from the kind of single piece forward historically?
I think the thing with the fully single piece forge, if we grab this, for example, like this is like something that I would use. With this, in my mind, my swing speed and angle of attack have to be at a certain point. And I couldn't tell you, I know you're probably thinking, oh, give me some numbers. And I couldn't have numbers because it's just a feeling that I know. But that needs to be high enough for me to do the work with the club to get the ball flighted. If it's too low, angle of attack is too shallow, or swing speed is too low, I'm not getting the ball flighted like I need to. Whereas with these, because of where the CG is, I feel like the club does more work for me in terms of getting that up. But I still have that playability that if I need to hit a shape certain ways or I need to hit down on it, I just have that maneuverability and flexibility with that head shape still of that like single piece.
Yeah, and that's certainly something within the P7 sort of series. That's why I went to the 7. I've got the 774 iron in my own set because I shallow out a little bit more. And that really picks the ball up well. Whereas you say with that head, you've got to get down on it more. You've got to get the strike up the face a bit more. That's just harder to do, especially if you're playing a little less regularly. You know, if the lie sat down a little bit, to get that strength of delivery and contact definitely gives a bit more margin of error.
I will say though, not to deter you guys from this, because if you do put in the work and you do get those parameters right, there is no better feeling. It feels like butter off the face when you really strike a bladed iron nicely and properly.
I think they're not forgiving, but they're not as forgiving, I think, as a lot of players' fears about them. I think a lot of the time people back off them because they think, oh God, I'm not good enough. But if you're not missing heel and toe,
centre strike, you're fine.
That you still get a lot of performance from a blade or a sort of single piece construction. So you don't have to go high tech to get good efficiency.
No.
Shaft bit.
Yeah.
So I alluded to this before, but had a lot of shaft change over the kind of the years since playing, or did you have one spec?
Yes. But when I was playing out on tour, I was dynamic gold S300s the whole way through, from as early as I can remember. And it wasn't until my final year on tour that I switched to these, the KBS Tour C-tapers, just to try something a little bit different, to try and go slightly lighter. I think are the S300s 127?
130, 132.
Oh, 130,
yeah,
right.
It's only up kind of in the longer irons down at that end, but they kind of break through the 130 barrier in the short iron. So even this is, whilst it's not light, it's still proportionally, they're still taking 10 grams out.
Yes, the KBS Tour C-taper comes in at 120, so this was an attempt to just take, 10 grams is quite significant.
Especially when you're playing that much as well, and you're used to go back to what you said earlier, you're used to playing shots a certain way with certain feels. So that amount of weight change is really significant when you're still playing full time. It's another thing where if you're back to playing once a month from playing full time and we want something easier, you need a big change. But to do that while still playing full time, that's a big change.
It was, and it was because of my back injury and the fact that when I came back, I couldn't move my body at the same speed and hips at the same speed, so I needed a little bit of help. But I actually really struggled with this. And so then I meandered into retirement, where I didn't really have much of a club setup. I used those for quite some time, I stopped playing. And then when I came back, I had a fitting at the Kingdom in Carlsbad, and I just went for the prettiest thing possible because I was like, well, I'm not really playing that much, like it's whatever. And in that I had the NS Pro Modus, which is 120 grams. Again, it's a nip-on shaft. It's a stepped shaft, which I don't know the science behind it, but I prefer the feeling of a stepped shaft to the C taper.
So it's really about how the shaft narrows down. In principle, it's about energy transfer. How as you load the shaft, how that load flows through. It's a marginal thing, but in principle, in theory, it's a smoother transmission of energy through, which is where the rifling came from originally.
Right, interesting. Okay, well, I needed all the help I could get.
Yeah.
But as I said earlier, my swing speed and strike wasn't good enough to be able to play with these consistently. So then I went into these, the KBS Tour, which I think are these 115?
So those are still 120.
These are still at 120.
But the balance points changed quite a bit. So interestingly enough, like dynamic golds are heavy but even weighted, so very even weight profile through. The C tapers go right down the bottom end. The Moduses have a bit of mass on the bottom end, but then this goes back to more mid-balance.
Yes, which I think I need. This is the one that I started playing with again.
Yep.
And for me, it's all about how I pick up the shaft halfway down.
Right.
That's what I need to be able to feel.
Okay.
And if I can't feel the shaft here, I can't control if it's the head or behind of my body.
So in terms of when you describe, because we all have different kind of, I call it languages for feel.
Yeah.
Feel as in the feel of how the shaft loads, or more where the club is in the arc of the swing?
Where it is.
Yeah.
If I can't feel the middle of the shaft at halfway down, I'm in trouble.
Got it.
It feels like I've got a whippy like stick with something on the end of it that's heavy.
Got it.
So this was my gamer for quite some time, and then I recently moved into these as of the spring of this year, middle of this year, which is back to the dynamic gold, but the mid, and this is at 115, which again was like, I know it's only 5 grams, so it sounds ridiculous, but it was such a big step for me to drop down below 120. Because I think 120's been my threshold for some time, where I was like, okay, can't go below 120 because I'm going to lose all feel, and so this is a step in the right direction. But you were saying that the trend now, especially for female players on tour, is to go down to like 95.
We're seeing it more and more. I mean, so 5 grams is in the hand, kind of holding a 5 gram mass is nothing. It feels like nothing at all. But when you're moving it on a several meters worth of swing arc and accelerating from 0 in transition down to kind of 80 miles an hour plus at impact, there's a lot of momentum. So 5 grams is more than enough to make a noticeable difference. But we are definitely seeing, like Nelly Corder's gone to steel fibers. A lot more of the girls actually the steel fiber Aerotech shafts, where they've got a graphite core and then steel filament around the outside. It's a lot of structural stability in the shaft. It's not a weak shaft, but it just allows the weight to get under 100 grams more easily. So we're definitely seeing a lot more of that. And even on the men's tour, lighter weights, you look at drivers, you used to see a lot of 75, 80 gram driver shafts. Rarely see over 70 grams now. So it's about developing speed, but staying balanced. And with the weight of clubs that you developed your game around and got used to, you're playing shafts. I mean, I wouldn't want to play 130 gram shaft now. Did that potentially contribute to a little bit of a back injury? Quite possibly. If it gets behind, then it puts a little bit of strain as you turn through. It's likely to pinch a little bit. And then you've got to catapult the weight through. And if you're hitting shot after shot after shot, then if you've got a weakness in your back, then that's going to put a little bit more strain on. So there's potential in steel to go down to 70 grams now, so or slightly lighter. So there's still so much more to go, but you've also then got to have a club that you can play the shots with the same way, and that's always the sort of challenge when you get a player who's had your ability over the years. Then your hands are used to playing shots a certain way, so you can't lose the feel. Otherwise, it's almost like picking up a different sport. But it's just finding that happy medium of how far to go with them.
So what I found out is that I need a fitting with Simon on my irons to try and figure out a lower weight shaft and to be able to hit it further and straighter.
Further, straighter,
for longer.
Yeah.
Which is what we want.
And it might be, and again, it might be 115 to 105, 110. It might not be much at all. It might be just a little bit of a shift in balance point to help to timing. But we haven't analysed these ones yet, so we'll see. We can do a session, see where these are and how much difference there is. But
I'd like that.
In principle, if we're trying to take a bit of strain off the body, a little bit less weight's a good way to go.
Right. Shall we go into the top end of
Big
the
dog.
bag? I'm very pleased with the shaft that I've got, but mostly I would like to draw everyone's attention to, I have done the rare golfer thing that I'm finally happy with my head cover setup.
That is rare.
Yeah, it's taken me a really long time, so I'm so happy and smug about it. It's taken me probably 2 years.
Okay.
Because you have to go to the place and they have to have the right head cover. You have to bide your time sometimes. So you're like, I know I want that one, but I'm not going to go there till next year. So now it's complete. I have the Glen Eagles on the driver, which is my happy place in the UK.
And that's quite an old school style as well.
I love, do you know what? If anyone wants to buy me a Christmas present or birthday present, January 6th, best day ever, I really want a Mackenzie golf bag. That is my, like in a really nice, just to be specific if you are going to purchase that for me, in either like a dark grey or olive green waxed leather. Yeah.
Nice. Can't argue with that.
I want that with this head. That's why the head cover setup is sort of like it is awaiting the Mackenzie bag.
So it's pre-prep.
Pre-prep,
right,
yes. So that you look at the club setup and you're like, they belong in a Mackenzie bag. Yeah, right. So if anyone from Mackenzie is also listening, feel free to send me one. Anyway.
Also means Henni has to walk her dog every single round because that's a prerequisite for a Mackenzie bag.
Yes, exactly, which is perfect round my home club, which is where this one's from. I do walk the dogs around there. That basically, they have kept my golfing career alive because I pretty much only play golf to walk them or my child, all three. Yeah. So I think we're on track for the Mackenzie bag with the Glen Eagles head cover, the Walton Heath, and then so we've got special place in the UK, home club, and then favourite golf course outside of the UK, which is La Reserve in Mauritius, which is where my mum's from. But there's nothing really biased about this because objectively it really is one of the most stunning courses you'll ever play. The only links in the Indian Ocean. And usually you hear that and you're like, yeah, whatever, links, but not really. But it actually is. It's had a couple of years to bed in, Louis Oosthuizen design. And usually you go to a resort course and you go, yeah, it's going to be a little fluffy around the edges, a little bit slow. This one, though, is pristine, like tour level in terms of how they keep and maintain the course. And then they have 15-minute intervals between the groups. So you genuinely feel like you're out there on your own.
Nice.
And the best part is that when you go up, you have to go 15-minute drive from the clubhouse all the way up to the first tee because you start at the top of the mountain and then come down. And when you go up there, you order your sandwiches at the 9th on your way past. And then when you go up on the first tee, they've got a shot of rum for you, some Chamarel Mauritius rum, just to ease those first tee nerves.
I was going to say,
so you start off
happy
happy with the views and everything, and you need it because it's a little bit brutal as well. I've left that out. It's challenging.
It's a challenging course. So James took a trip with, I think, 12 or 13 golfers out there, and I sadly, this is the first one I didn't do, and they played that one. And I got very jealous of the images.
He hasn't stopped talking about it since I've arrived this morning. Yeah, one day you will go back.
Not bitter.
Right, shall we talk about the setup that we have here, lurking underneath these beautiful head covers, waiting for their Mackenzie bag. I have the QI35 with the red Ventus, the Fujikura shaft. I love the stability of these shafts. I don't know the science behind it, I'm sure you will tell me, but for me, it just feels like I can predict the kick every single time.
So with the real key to the Ventus shafts, and this is the second generation with the Velocore Plus, but essentially the Velocore material, it stops the shaft ovaling, which means consistency, but it's through the length of the shaft. So there's real consistency to the loading and actually the fact that it reduces some of the droop on the shaft. It means consistent strike point. So the red being the highest, Verticom is highest launching because it's not a high spinning shaft, high launching shaft, but of the Ventus range, it's the highest launching shaft. And what they've got within the shaft are different directions and types of ply, types of composites to retain torsional stiffness, but then manipulate the bend profile as well. So as a range, the red range is, say, the highest launching version. We'll give you the second generation, definitely a smoother feel than the first gen, but great quality materials.
So I am super happy with this as a setup. I really love this head. I have to do the tour head because I don't like the look of the bigger back on the other head. I just feel like it weirdly makes me deliver it more on the inside. because it's bigger. I don't know.
Right.
I think it's just a visual thing.
You can get, so with there's a significant difference in the head size between the Core and the Max model and the LS in the QR35. And if the weight gets too far back, so I find if I go back weighted, it actually drops, it kind of gears the head. As I transition, change direction, it drops the head underneath.
Yeah.
So that's probably what you're feeling, is that it will try to feel like it drops more on the inside, and you can create a flip. So.
But this is the best performing driver I've had since I've retired. I can actually hit fairways consistently. Yeah, I love it. So that's my driver.
And interesting enough with this, one little point of note, is so got the heaviest weight in the back. So it's like a kind of an LS plus. So it's got a little bit more stability by having the maximum weight back. A shaft that launches a little bit, but then a head that keeps the spin down.
Yes.
Been a really stable club head for speed this year.
Yes. And so now moving into the woods, I have always had 3-wood, 5-wood.
Yep.
And then I've swapped in and out a hybrid with a 4-iron, is what I did throughout my playing career. And the reason I did that is because Pete Harrison at Callaway, who I was with throughout my playing career, told me that there's quite a big difference between bag setup across the tours. So Challenge Tour and DP World Tour are quite different, because on Challenge Tour you can reach par 5s into frequently, and on DP World Tour you can't as much. And so when you can reach par 5s into frequently, you need more clubs at the top end of the bag, because you can't control like a little 3/4 3-wood. But if you are hitting 3 shots in, like a 3-shotter par 5, you need more wedges. So you change, you take a wood out and you go up to 4 wedges, so that you can control that sort of 50 to 150 for the guys yards. And it's a similar for me when I was playing on tour. There were certain courses that you could have a go at some par 5s, and there were certain ones that you couldn't. And then obviously you had the British Open every year, or the Women's Open as it's now referred to, and that I would always put the 4-iron in. Were they always on links
courses when you were playing? Because they're now a real mix between the links and inland.
Yeah.
But they were traditionally more links.
I think Sunningdale was like the most inland one that we ever had when I was playing on tour, which, if we think about it now, is not as much inland as a Woburn, for example, in terms of playability. Like Sunningdale's still quite firm. It all comes down to the firmness of the ground, basically. And wind are the two sort of factors of flight and what you're putting in there. So that was what I did on tour. Now I have sort of struggled with it a bit, because I don't reach par 5s into, spoiler alert. So I had driver 3-wood hybrid to be able to get out the rough, because I miss fairways frequently as well, unfortunately. But I just couldn't quite get the right setup, because it felt like something was missing. So what we're trying now, which I'm still not sold on, is 3-wood, 7-wood.
Right. Okay.
No hybrid.
No hybrid.
Which I'm struggling with, because I do miss my hybrid. I've got the Ventus red shafts throughout. Again, I've got the Tour QI35 head, because I struggle with the bigger head size. I prefer, for me on woods, I think because when you've grown up playing with like the old school wood head sizes, I struggle with anything that's too big visually. So that's quite a nice size for me.
Do you use that more as a strategy call off the tee? Is that kind of more where you use it, or is it a real all-rounder fairway tee?
Mostly fairway. I think off the tee, because I hit it so short nowadays, but I still try and play off the same tees that I did when I played on tour. I just smash driver everywhere. And because I don't really care about scoring either, I smash driver. If I was trying to be careful about scoring, I probably would. And it's great off the tee. Like, honestly, this setup of these heads, the QI35 heads, tour heads, plus the red Ventus, I could not be happy with. I feel like I could use these for years and be like really, they're so stable. And then the 7-wood.
It's an interesting one, the hybrid to 7-wood. So we're doing far more lofted woods than we ever used to, and I think some of that is the heads are now lower spin, the balls are lower spin. So actually the importance on getting the elevation off the club face, getting the height to again carry. But then we're often dealing with players with more moderate swing speeds. But we're seeing more of these played by tour players, predominantly US. I mean, even some 9-woods in certain scenarios. So it's quite an interesting, it's been a real shift away from away from. There's much more of a split between hybrids and lofted fairway woods than there ever used to be. I think some players, you're really comfortable with a hybrid. We get a lot of players who play them and go, am I meant to hit it like an iron, like a wood, how do I play it? Or if you pick it more, that's then when the fairway woods can really come into their own.
That's a good point. I think I always work on conditions backwards. So for me, players on tour makes total sense because the greens, especially in the PGA Tour, are so firm that you need something coming in as high as possible from that distance. And the guys know that. So if you're hitting in 4-iron versus 7-wood or 9-wood, it just makes the game 10 times easier for them. If you're playing a lot of golf in the UK on parkland courses or winter golf, it doesn't make any sense because it's not going to go anywhere and it's fairly useless. And then if you're hitting, so if you're someone who hits a lot of fairways or not, like for me, this would be great. I do hit more fairways now with this, honestly. This is the best driver I've had in a while. So it's better and more helpful, but out the rough, I really struggle with this because I prefer a hybrid to be able to hit down on it, and be able to get it flying out the rough a little bit more with a little bit more power straight off the bat. I can hit a nice low driving
coming out and chasing.
Whereas with this I can't, and I know standing over it, it's going straight up. So there's a little bit of breeze coming at me. I'm like, oh, I don't have this. And then you're looking, okay, well now I've got to step down to the 4-iron. So it's still that same problem that the hybrid fixed for me in terms of it was that sort of 3-iron.
Got it.
So I think I do prefer the 3-wood, 5-wood, and then change in and out the hybrid to the 4-iron is my overwhelming, I think, final decision on it.
Yeah, and I think it's having that kind of palette of clubs to choose from at the top, and so we're seeing it. Obviously, see it from the tour guys; they're all sponsored, so they don't have to pay for them. But even when we're fitting, we might kind of go to maybe look to try and see more of an extreme. So I've got a driving iron for a lot of the year, links golf. But I've got a 5-wood where, in the past I could never have played a 5-wood with the amount of spin I used to get. But now I'm still getting used to how high it goes. And that's something that I've struggled with or had to adapt to, looking for a flight there and actually it's up there somewhere. So kind of the tendency is then to try and bring the flight down and hook it because I'm covering it. But so accepting that flight height, but just really picking the club for the job role. If I go and play kind of, there's a course near Wisley where there's water in front of the greens on par 5s. 2-iron's slightly less enjoyable into those than a 5-wood I know is going up in the air and stopping. But then I go down to Royal St George's, there's no way the 5-wood's anywhere near the bag. So having the ability to pick and choose, and where you've got those options of, say 3-wood, 5-wood, 7-wood, hybrid, 4-iron, you can really pick what course, what conditions, and interchange, which gives you loads of armoury.
I agree.
So irons and woods covered off. Bottom end of the bag, wedges. I must say that this series of wedges from TaylorMade going into equipment side of things first, I think these are the best they've done.
I agree.
I think the face tread, the grind shapes are the most versatile, best feeling wedges that they've produced so far. So yeah, really like these. I'm
going to bring this out as well because when I was playing on tour, I used to go back and forth between the set wedge and a 48-degree in this head. And wedges is something that I'm quite passionate about because short game is like my thing. And so I think I alluded to earlier that the setup depends on the type of courses that you're playing. So if you play a lot of courses where you've got a lot of short irons in or wedges in, so anything from 100 yards in, and you've got to get that right, typically people would recommend a 4-wedge setup, and I'm including the pitching wedge as a wedge. I go 3 wedges just because when I first started playing golf and I grew up, I had a half set. And pitching wedge was the lowest that I had. No, I didn't. I lie. I had a 9-iron, and that was it. Didn't have a wedge. So I had 9-iron, 7-iron, a 3-iron out of the bargain bin, a 5-iron, and that was it for my irons. And I had a driver. That was it. And so I got down to a 5 handicap on that. And so I used to have to
the
hit
feel and the imagination.
9-iron out of a bunker and 9-iron chipping and everything. So when I got my first full set of clubs, which was a ping, I had wedges and I was like, I don't know what to do with them. So 4 wedges still to this day is really overwhelming to me. I've tried it.
And do you play, so you look at the players who don't carry the extra wedges, someone like Shane Lowry plays a lot of his shots with his lob wedge. Do you play predominantly one or do you really vary?
The 52 is that's my chipping club. It's my pitching club. Like, that is my club.
Yeah.
And again, it's because when I got that full set of clubs as a junior, the 52 was the one that was like the strongest wedge.
Right.
So because I had a pitching wedge, set wedge, so that was the strongest one. So that was the one that I gravitated towards. The 58 I only use out of a bunker. Really, that's about it. Or if I have to play like a wild flop shot, which I'm sure you never really do. So yeah, I remember having a 4-wedge setup and having a 60 degree and a 56, and I was like, I will never use that. I don't even know what that is. Like, I don't understand how that talks to the ground. So yeah, 52 is like my gamer. This is a weird setup because you wouldn't really have 58, 52, and well, 48 roughly. This is. But this is sort of my 3-wedge setup, always with a C grind. Yeah. And I would, when I was on tour, I would emphasise the C grind a bit more as well, just so that I could have a little bit more playability, because typically we're playing on firmer courses rather than softer courses. And
would that be more the heel side you'd take off a little bit more? So the C grind it's a C shape on the back edge of the sole where it's graduated off to help open the face up, give a bit more versatility.
I would have it, so this bit that you see here. On the club, that wouldn't be there. So I'd get that ground down and I would get the bottom bit ground down a bit more so that this curved edge would be obviously much less. Bounce would be about 6 to 8 degrees versus 10 to 12 that you typically get on your set wedges.
So that would definitely suggest you tend to get your hands fairly low and kind of deliver almost sort of work the head under quite a bit.
I do, yes.
Whereas I'm the other way. That for a front edge bevel that they've now do on these, for me, I get handle lead and I'm not good on a wet up slope.
Fine.
But, which is why I'm not a good wedge player and you are. But yeah, that kind of heel grind really, really key for low hands.
Yes, I love to throw the club head under it and just let that do the work. And I always, in my head, say it's like talking to the ground. So whenever I see a ball lying somewhere, I go up to it and I sort of see what the ground's requiring and how the club head has to be delivered to that to be able to have a little pathway through in my head.
Okay, so and with that, so obviously now a lot of people talk about kind of low points and using the bounce and that side of things, which is sort of phraseology I think that can be a little bit confusing to amateurs. But are you kind of getting a feel for how, when you're making those sort of little swings, how the feel of the club and the ground interact, and then what you've got to do for the shot you're playing? I
think about this. It's when I say it's talking to the ground, it's this contact point of the club. And I think about this.
As in front back? As in sort of leading edge, back edge rather than heel, heel toe?
Yes. And I think about it like if it's yogurt, and am I using a knife to dig into the yogurt or am I using a spoon to scoop the yogurt? And so the spoon is the more bounce and the knife is the less bounce. And so that's how, and the firmness of the yogurt changes and determines what implement you need to get your yogurt out. So that's, really how I think about it is I'm never thinking about the leading edge, ever. I'm always thinking about this bit and how that has to jump off of the ground.
And that's definitely something we hear good wedge players say, never even worried about the leading edge, because a good wedge player is actually never getting the leading edge delivered to the turf. It's actually always about how almost the second half of the club gets through. And that's why a really good wedge player, because you can alter that low point and the delivery point of the sole. Often doesn't necessarily need the extra wedge, whereas I'm not a great wedge player, so I need to have a kind of I play a 4-wedge system, including pitch, so I have a high bounce on my 56 and then a lower bounce on my 60 to try to idiot-proof things as much as possible, because I'm going to get steep some shape or form. So it gives me a bit of margin for error. But the better you are with the wedge is actually almost the less bounce in UK turfs in particular definitely helps get that kind of speed of the club through the turf.
Yes, definitely. Because deceleration is the nemesis of all short game shots. And then when I played on tour, I used to put a little sticker here. I wish I had the club still, but I had a sticker here with half, 3/4, full on my wedges. So I would practice. Nowadays, you do it on your shot tracking device of choice, but. For me, it used to be a classic, like pace out 50 yards, 75, 100, and have buckets and try and hit it in the buckets. And so it was with the left arm. So this would be halfway. This would be, I should do this facing the camera. This would be halfway. This would be 3/4, and then this would be full.
Yeah.
I can't get back there, but it should
like
go
kind
further
of a
back.
Face,
From
a clock
face.
It a 9 o'clock or
yeah.
a 10:30. Yeah.
And that was pretty much set in stone, that I would have printed on the back of my wedges, and I would just know for pitching purposes what those were.
Yeah. And that structure is so key. And that's where you've got, in that scenario, you've got so many, from, let's say for those like kind of 100 yards down to 40 yards, you've got goodness knows how many shots you can play, and you've got those yardages covered because you've practiced them. And it's that, but I think that's most overlooked by a lot of amateurs. We'll go out and want to hit driver as far as possible, but you're going to save more shots with this than you will off the tee. So dialing in those yardages and starting to, I think the confidence, the trust that you've got the right swing for the right shot, massive.
Yeah, well, everything works backwards from there, doesn't it? So if you know I've got 75 yards, that's going to be 75 yards always. If you're chipping out from trees, you hit it to 75 yards. If you're laying up on a par 5, you hit it to 75, and you can get up and down. Yeah. So that's why it's key. But yes, I am firmly in the 3-wedge setup. The set wedge, I would sometimes use a set wedge which goes further, obviously, or I would use the 48-degree in these wedges, in those types of head. If I didn't need it to go as far, but I wanted a little bit more control. But ultimately, because I use a 52 so much, you didn't really need that 48 in this head to be able to play shots around the green. So I stuck to the set wedge, pitching wedge. Yeah,
and it's interesting, the set wedge to outer set wedge, he's getting, in the heads with less tech, he's getting a bit closer. They're starting to use now more grooves that are similar between those heads, whereas go back a few years, they were quite different.
Yes,
you definitely get more spin control, more flight control out of this sort of style head. The specialist wedge versus set wedge was just stand and deliver a little bit more, but it's definitely narrowed up a certain amount. And shaft-wise in the wedges, the Dynamic Gold, the 115, so the weight progression is matched into wedges to irons. I'm assuming historically would have been the old Dynamic Gold wedge shaft.
Dynamic Gold wedge shaft, yes, correct. That would be throughout.
But the wedge specific one is a slightly softer tip section, so it keeps a little bit more feel. And responsiveness on lesser swings. So real kind of nice continuity through from the irons into the wedges. And notice the grips use the cord. Now I can't use, I am very delicate hand. The cord rips my hands up. It feels really quite sore if I practice with them. But you've always used the cord.
I have, lambkin full cord. And I always have, this is a weird little quirk, the lambkin on the underside. Don't know if you can see this, but usually the cording on what is classically the underside, so the opposite of the lambkin logo, there's more of it. On the top side, because that's not where your hands are, there is less of it. So it's full cord with the underside on the top, so there's slightly less cording throughout.
Because I was in my head, I was thinking the lambkin logo changed several years back, became much more uniform. It used to be more of a kind of a signature style, which was less uniform. So I was sort of wondering whether it was to do with the visuals of it. But actually, and interesting on this, you can really see the differential in the cord. It's almost like, it's not quite like the old half cords, but it's much, much more cord on the underside there. So there was me thinking it was a visual thing. And
no.
I hadn't even noticed that with the grips before, actually.
No.
I'll be looking out for that now, every single grip I put on.
Oh my gosh.
I'd not noticed it as a definite trend, but I can absolutely see it on that and these. So I will be eyeballing every full cord grip that we put on now, just to see is that a consistent pattern.
It is a full cord, but with slightly less, just so that it. But I mean, for me, the corded grips are that's feel to me. I have the ultimate feel. It's firmer. The other ones feel like your classic Golf Pride or your classic lambkin feel a bit too spongy for me. And I think we just get used to it, don't you? So for me now, if I pick up anything but this as my gamers, I'm like, oh, what is that?
Yeah, and it's your only point of contact with the club. So that familiarity, that comfort, be it a comfort blanket of sort of style that you've used over the years, or just that familiarity is so key to feeling relaxed over the shot. So, why change it if it doesn't need to? Then final club in the bag, we have
my baby.
A putter that this goes back a way.
Yes, this is an 11-year-old original Jailbird. You can see all of the little scratches on it, but I absolutely love it. Yes, it's got character. It's got a counterbalance, and this is quite heavy. This is like a 35-gram counterbalance. And I absolutely love it. I feel like the putter head swings itself. I've had it 11 years. There's no signs of changing it anytime soon. I can align it as best as I ever can with anything else. It was actually, I worked with Phil Kenyon from the age of 18. And I first came to him in my traditional egotistical way of like, must have blades, must have a bladed putter head. I was using the old Scotty Camerons, the Newport 2, I think I had, with the oiled finish, and I would like oil it every night before I went to bed and like wipe it down. I didn't want it to rust. Anyway, I had that and I refused to use anything else. But then he eventually got me into a mallet style head because I didn't do so well with consistent face rotation. Right. So he changed my setup to be more sort of concaved in the chest, more over it, so I could swing under and keep the putter face more square and more stable rather than flatter chest, more rotational. And I've not looked back ever since.
An interesting thing with that, with the counterweight in, is it means you're effectively swinging the handle end a little bit more. So it gets a little less focus on the head swinging and rotating.
Yes.
So it's kind of a minor thing, but that's what some of the counterbalance, so some of the longer ones, and longer putters you get at kind of 37, 38 inches, where you get kind of few inches of grip stuck above the hands, is actually designed to get the focus away from the club head end, so it makes it a little easier to stay connected if you struggle with over rotation.
Yes, exactly. So I absolutely love it. Like I said, I don't think it's going to leave my bag anytime soon.
And I the think Versa's come back in again. That's something I'm very much a perpendicular alignment, aligned towards the target I see as left. So I very much fall into that style of alignment. Yeah,
it's one of those things that it was really worthwhile for me testing with a laser how I aimed certain putter head styles. And this one, the Versa, was what I aligned the best, with the top line as well. Yeah. So I would have a line on my ball that I would match to the top line, and then I would have the Versa stripes to be able to, really make sure that my alignment was correct most of the time, because that is such a massive part of putting. Like you can read greens as well as you want, and you can have pace and green reading aligned perfectly, but if you are fractionally out to your alignment of where you think you're reading it and aiming it, then you're dead in the water. So
I think it's one of the biggest things we see from the fittings is how surprised a lot of players are at the style of putter that actually they line up best. Yeah. Because ultimately, there are some players where you don't want to align it because they compensate really well and then deliver square face. Yeah. Which is why I prefer down here. In fact, the player can't override the club in a full swing play, but they can with a putter. But actually, if you can start off lining it up square, well, there's so many compensations run out of it, and shape and markings are critical to that.
Yeah. I was super reluctant to go into the Jailbird when it happened because I thought it was ugly and I didn't want to know, and I hated the Versa, and all I wanted was a blade and to be like Tiger, who has a ton of face rotation. But ultimately, it's performed the best. So I've gone with it, and it's stuck with me.
Can't say fairer than that.
No.
And then final little question for you. Every golfer's got some quirks, some call it superstitions, call it some kind of
bit weird, aren't we?
Yeah, idiosyncrasies. What are your most notable ones?
Right. So when I played on tour, I could only have 3 tees in my pocket at any one time, plus 1 coin. Yeah. I was never allowed a pitch mark repairer. I would just repair a pitch mark with a tee and tap it down. Yeah. I have quite a few of really hate seeing those on people's bags. A club head cleaner, like one of those little brushes.
Ones that kind of squirts water out as well. Yeah.
No, that's next level. No, obviously a ball retriever is a standard ick. Any towel that's like a folded towel rather than a player's towel.
Oh, as in the ones that are kind of half
pre-folded.
Pre-folded. Okay.
Yes.
Then,
it actually makes me itch because they're always really thick. It's horrible. I need to have my glove attached to my bag like this. It can't ever live inside a pocket.
Okay.
That's how it lives.
Due
inside. I don't know. I don't know.
Just to hand. I guess one doesn't need to know, do we?
Yeah.
Just a thing.
Too much wear mark to a hole point on the pad of the glove.
We could do a whole episode on this. Yeah.
What else? Oh, set head covers, massive ick.
Right.
Yeah.
As in the ones from the
brand.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
What else? I'm trying to think what else I had. Oh, each ball only ever had 3 birdies in it.
Okay, I've heard similar. I think it was Ernie Els says each ball's only got one.
Oh, right.
Which is fine when you get them free.
Yeah.
But okay, yeah. I've heard
and I
that
could never
before,
use
yeah.
the number 3 on a golf ball. So that box out of a box,
History
the
to
number
the 3.
No, I don't know.
Just
I mean, some point, something.
Yeah. I remember thinking as a young junior that the balls I had number 1 on were the best. Now, why anyone would use a 4, I don't know. But I kind of had this thing in my head, which was clearly completely false and ridiculous. But grew out of that quickly.
I could only ever use a coin because I thought that Queen Elizabeth brought me luck, whereas any other, like, I don't know, it couldn't be meaningful to, I couldn't have had like a Walton Heath marker.
Right.
Because then if that didn't bring me luck, then Walton Heath would be tainted. Like the golf course that belonged to the marker. And
I do like Queen Elizabeth giving you luck there. I think that's nice. Yeah.
My middle name's Elizabeth, and so I was a big Queen Elizabeth fan. Trying to think what else. Oh, like when you go to somewhere with your golf clubs and you have a bag tag put on, like that has to come off when you leave that place.
Okay.
People that have a million bag tags on, it's like...
The only one I left on was the Pine Valley one. I thought that was a bit of a flex.
Acceptable.
But you
can't have loads. You can have like one.
And when they just sort of slap and kind of make a load of noise on the golf course when everyone's walking. Yeah.
Horrid. Obviously the standard like iron covers, that sort of thing. I do have one question, which is umbrellas in the bag. No. And even umbrellas outside of the bag, but that haven't been re-clipped.
Okay. Yeah.
But they're just
flapping
flopping.
open.
Yeah. No.
Well, there we go.
I think that's just off the top of my head. I'm sure there's lots more, but for now.
Well, we have an insight into things that, if you're ever playing golf with Henni, then you've got a tick off list.
Yes,
make sure you're behaving yourself and adhering to all the rules. It's been so fun. Me and talking equipment is inevitably a subject I'm going to enjoy, but it's so fun to pick the brains of someone like you and go back over the years and things you've done and learn about what you used to do and what you're doing now, and how things have changed. Fascinating. So thank you so much for joining us.
It's brought back the memories.
It's been a real pleasure having you back here. And,
thank you.
You never know, there might be an iron fitting on the horizon.
Yes,
sometime.
much needed.
So if you've enjoyed the video, enjoyed the content, check out the channel. There's loads of other content. There's product launches galore coming soon. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe. We'll see you soon.